Desert Marksman, 2014. Marine forces trapped by hostile gunfire. You steady your breathing, feeling the familiar weight of the Barrett M82 against your shoulder as you peer through the scope at the sprawling construction site below. The Nevada desert stretches endlessly around the half-built casino complex, heat waves distorting the horizon like memories of Helmand Province. Your name is Jake Reaper Morrison, and after 3 tours as a Marine Scout sniper, you're trying to build something instead of destroying it for once. Another day in paradise, Gunny, you mutter, adjusting the scope's focus on the workers moving like ants across the skeletal framework. But this isn't Afghanistan. You're holding a surveyor's transit, not a sniper rifle, measuring elevation. Points for the Foundation crew. The transition from Marine gunnery sergeant to construction foreman hasn't been smooth, but it pays the bills and keeps your hands steady. The radio crackles on your belt. "Morrison, get down here now!" The voice belongs to Richard Blackstone III, the project developer's son and your least favorite person in the continental United States. Everything about him screams privilege, from his Harvard MBA to his spotless khakis that have never seen real dirt. He's the kind of man you spent years protecting overseas, and the kind who makes you question why you bothered. You climb down from the surveying tower, tool belt jangling with the weight of instruments instead of magazines. The desert sun beats down mercilessly, but it's nothing compared to the furnace of Kandahar. At least here, nobody's shooting at you. Yet, Blackstone stands near the trailer that serves as the site office, his face red with more than just heat. Beside him lurks his security chief, a thick-necked former cop named Vincent Torres, who got kicked off the Vegas PD for excessive force. Torres eyes you with the kind of suspicion reserved for insurgents and tax auditors. "Problem, Mr. Blackstone?" you ask, keeping your voice level. 6 years in the Corps taught you to read situations fast, and this one has all the makings of a clusterfuck. "Yeah, there's a problem," Blackstone snarls. "Half my crew didn't show up today, and the ones who did are moving slower than government cheese. I'm starting to think hiring a bunch of desert rats and military washouts wasn't my brightest idea." The words hit harder than expected. You've taken incoming fire from Taliban snipers without flinching, but something about this entitled prick questioning your Marine's worth makes your jaw clench. 3 of your crew are former Marines, 2 are Army vets, and 1 is a Navy Seabee who lost his leg to an IED in Ramadi. They work harder than any crew you've ever seen, military or civilian. Those military washouts showed up at 500 and have been busting their asses in 110-degree heat, you reply, your voice carrying the edge that once made insurgents think twice. "Maybe the problem isn't the workers. Maybe it's the management." Torres steps forward, hand resting on his expandable baton. "Watch your tone, Marine boy. You're talking to your boss." You don't move, but something shifts in your posture, a subtle straightening that speaks of years under fire. "Former Marine, and last I checked, Mr. Blackstone, the contract said I run the construction crew. You handle the money and the permits." Blackstone's face darkens. "Listen up, jarhead. I don't give a damn about your little war stories or your Purple Heart or whatever participation trophy the government gave you for playing soldier. This is my project, my money, and my rules. You don't like it? There's the gate." The desert goes quiet except for the distant hum of generators and the whisper of wind through the steel framework. You stand there, measuring the distance between yourself and Torres, calculating angles and cover positions out of habit. Old instincts die hard, especially when you're staring down the kind of men who mistake authority for leadership. 36. "Confirmed kills," you say quietly, almost conversationally. "That's not a participation trophy, Mr. Blackstone. That's math." Torres's hand tightens on his baton. "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." You turn your attention back to Blackstone. Just like the fact that your project is 3 weeks behind schedule because you keep changing the specs and cutting corners on materials. "My Marines have been working miracles to keep this thing on track." "Your Marines?" Blackstone laughs, a harsh sound in the desert air. "They're construction workers now. Grunt labor. And if they can't hack it in the real world, maybe they should have stayed in the sandbox where somebody else makes all the decisions for them." Something cold settles in your chest, the same feeling you got right before pulling the trigger on a target. But this isn't Helmand Province, and Richard Blackstone III isn't an enemy combatant. He's just an asshole with daddy's money and a mouth bigger than his brain. What did you think of this opening? If you stand with our veterans, type the Black Shadow. Let me know. The confrontation might have escalated if not for the rumble of approaching vehicles. A convoy of 3 black SUVs kicks up dust clouds as they navigate the construction site's rough access road. You recognize the formation immediately. Textbook security protocol. Probably federal contractors. Blackstone straightens his tie, suddenly looking less confident. What the hell? I'm not expecting any inspections today. The lead vehicle stops, 20 feet away, and out steps a woman in a dark pantsuit that somehow manages to look crisp despite the desert heat. She's maybe 40, with graying hair pulled back in a severe bun, and the kind of steady gaze that comes from years of making hard decisions. Behind her emerge 4 men in tactical gear, not the mall cop variety Torres represents, but actual operators with the bearing of Special Forces veterans. Mr. Blackstone? The woman approaches, showing a badge wallet. Special Agent Sarah Chen, Department of Homeland Security. I need to speak with your site foreman immediately. You step forward. That would be me. Gunnery Sergeant Jake Morrison, USMC. Retired. Agent Chen's expression shifts almost imperceptibly, a flicker of recognition that tells you she's done her homework. Sergeant Morrison, we have a situation that requires your expertise. Is there somewhere we can talk privately? Blackstone pushes between you and the agent. Now hold on just a minute. This is my construction site, and I have a right to know. What's going on here? Actually, sir, you don't. Chen's voice carries the kind of authority that comes from having real power, not inherited wealth. This is a matter of national security. Mr. Morrison, if you would. You gesture toward the trailer office, but Chen shakes her head. Somewhere more secure. Your vehicle will do. As you walk toward your beaten-up Ford F-250, you catch Torres whispering urgently into his cell phone. The man's nervous energy sets off every alarm bell in your head. 6 years of combat patrols teach you to recognize when someone's about to do something stupid. Inside your truck, Chen gets straight to the point. 3 weeks ago, a shipment of military-grade explosives went missing from a transport convoy near 29 Palms. Yesterday, our intelligence sources indicated the materials may be headed to Las Vegas, specifically to this construction site. Your blood runs cold. You think someone's planning to use this place as a target or a staging area? Chen pulls out a tablet showing satellite photos of the site. The security is minimal. You've got heavy construction equipment that could be weaponized, and the location gives you clear sightlines to the strip. For a terrorist cell or domestic extremist group, this would be ideal. You study the images, your mind automatically cataloging defensive positions and potential threats. What do you need from me? Intel. You know this site better than anyone, and you know the people working here. We need to identify potential threats without tipping off whoever might be watching. A tap on the window interrupts the conversation. Torres stands outside, his earlier nervousness replaced by something harder. Agent Chen? I'm Vincent Torres, head of security for this project. Maybe I should be included in this discussion. Chen doesn't roll down the window. Instead, she shows Torres her badge through the glass and makes a dismissive gesture. The former cop's face flushes red, but he steps back. Interesting reaction, you observe. We've been watching Mr. Torres for some time, Chen admits. His departure from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department wasn't entirely voluntary. There are questions about his associations with certain extremist groups. The pieces start falling into place. Torres's nervousness, his phone call, the way he's been questioning your crew's backgrounds and schedules. You think he's involved? I think he's a person of interest, but we need proof before we can move. That's where you come in. You lean back in the driver's seat, processing the implications. My Marines served their country honorably. They've been through hell and back, and now you're telling me someone's using their job site to plan God knows what kind of attack. That's exactly what I'm telling you. Chen's voice softens slightly. Look, I've read your file. Silver Star, Purple Heart 36 confirmed kills as a sniper. You know what's at stake here. Through the windshield, you watch Blackstone gesticulating angrily at his security chief while your crew continues working, oblivious to the danger potentially surrounding them. These are good men, Corporal Danny Rodriguez lost his left hand to an IED but can still operate a crane better than anyone. Staff Sergeant Mike Wilson carries shrapnel in his back from a mortar attack but never complains. They deserve better than being pawns in someone else's war. What do you need me to do? Chen hands you a secure phone. Keep working. Keep watching. If you see anything suspicious, and I mean anything, you call that number immediately. We'll have assets in the area, but we can't move until we know exactly what we're dealing with. And if Torres is planning something, then you do what Marines do best, Chen says grimly. You protect your people and complete the mission. 2 days pass in a haze of heat and tension. You maintain the facade of normalcy, directing your crew through their tasks while conducting your own reconnaissance. Every conversation with Torres feels like a chess match, each casual question about schedules and site security carrying hidden weight. The breakthrough comes during the lunch break on Thursday. You're eating an MRE in the shade of your truck. Old habits die hard when Corporal Rodriguez approaches with a troubled expression. "Gunny, we got a problem," he says quietly, using your old rank out of habit. "That pendejo Torres has been asking questions about our backgrounds. Specifically, he wants to know which of us did EOD work, explosive ordnance disposal, bomb tech work. Your blood chills as you consider the implications. What did you tell him? Nothing. But he's been real interested in Wilson's background. Apparently someone told him Sergeant Wilson was a combat engineer. Staff Sergeant Mike Wilson specializes in demolitions. In Afghanistan, he could take down a building with surgical precision or clear an IED field like he was mowing grass. If someone wanted to weaponize stolen military explosives, Wilson would be the perfect candidate, if they could get him to cooperate. "Where's Wilson now?" you ask. Rodriguez jerks his head toward the far end of the site. "Torres asked him to check the foundation work near the storage containers. Alone." You're moving before Rodriguez finishes speaking, muscle memory taking over as you adopt the low, fast movement pattern that kept you alive through 3 combat deployments. The storage containers sit in a cluster about 200 yards from the main construction, perfect for a private conversation, or something worse. As you approach, voices carry across the desert air. Torres's voice, pitched low and urgent. "Understand the situation you're in, Wilson. I know about the debts, the medical bills for your daughter. I don't know what you're talking about." Wilson's voice carries the strain of a man under pressure. "Come on, Mike. Can I call you Mike? We're both professionals here. I'm offering you a solution. Simple job, good money, and nobody gets hurt." You edge closer, using the container shadows for cover. Through a gap between containers, you can see Torres facing Wilson, his body language aggressive despite his reasonable tone. "All I need is someone with your expertise to place a few charges. Nothing fancy, just enough to make it look like an industrial accident. The insurance payout will more than cover any losses." Wilson takes a step back. "You're talking about insurance fraud. I'm talking about opportunity." Torres pulls out an envelope thick with what looks like cash. 25 grand right now, enough to cover your daughter's surgery with plenty. Left over, all you have to do is place the charges during the night shift change when nobody's around. Your secure phone vibrates against your chest. Agent Chen's number. But you can't answer it now. Wilson looks like he's wavering, and Torres is getting impatient. "I need an answer, Mike. My associates aren't known for their patience." Associates, plural. This is bigger than insurance fraud. Chen was right about the stolen explosives. Torres isn't just a dirty ex-cop, he's part of something larger. Wilson straightens up, and for a moment you see the staff sergeant he used to be. "Go to hell." Torres's hand moves toward his jacket, but Wilson is already moving, combat reflexes overriding civilian restraint. The 2 men grapple, Wilson's demolitions, training evident in his efficient, brutal movements. You key the secure phone without looking, knowing Chen will track your location and send backup. Then you move, circling around the containers to get a clear line of sight on the struggle. Torres breaks free and pulls a pistol, a Glock 19, standard law enforcement issue. "Big mistake, soldier boy." "Marine," Wilson corrects, even as he raises his hands. "And you just made a bigger one. How's that?" "Because you forgot about Overwatch." Torres spins toward your voice, gun tracking, but he's too late. You emerge from behind the container with your sidearm drawn, A 45 ACP that's been with you since Fallujah. 20 yards, stationary target, slight crosswind. You could make this shot in your sleep. Drop the weapon, Torres. Last warning, for a heartbeat. Nobody moves. Then Torres's radio crackles with an unfamiliar voice. Security breach at the north perimeter. Multiple federal vehicles approaching. The corrupt ex-cop's face goes white. This isn't over, Morrison. Yes, it is. The federal response team arrives, like a desert storm. Fast, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore. Agent Chen coordinates the operation from a mobile command post while tactical teams secure the site and round up Torres's associates. Your construction crew watches from a safe distance, finally understanding why their foreman has been so tense lately. 37 pounds of C4 plastic explosive, Chen reports as you stand in the shadow of the storage containers. Enough to level half this site and take out anyone within a quarter-mile radius. Torres and his cell were planning to detonate during the casino's grand opening ceremony next month. You watch the bomb disposal team carefully extracting the charges. Torres had already positioned throughout the construction site. How long have you been tracking them? 6 months, ever since the first shipment went missing from Camp Pendleton. Chen's expression is grim. Torres was recruiting veterans with financial problems, targeting their desperation. Wilson wasn't the first man he approached, but he was the first to say no. Actually, he was the third. The other two, Chen doesn't need to finish. You've seen enough of war to know how this story ends. Staff Sergeant Wilson approaches, his usual stoic demeanor cracked by the day's revelations. Gunny, I need to tell you something. Torres knew about my daughter's medical situation. Somehow he had details about her treatment, her doctors, even our insurance situation. This hits you like a sniper's bullet to the chest. Someone's been feeding him intelligence on the crew. Had to be someone with access to personnel files, Wilson continues. Someone who knew which of us were vulnerable. Your secure phone rings. Chen answers on the first ring. We have a problem, she says without preamble. Richard Blackstone III isn't just the developer's son. He's been funneling money to domestic extremist groups through shell companies. The casino project was always meant to be the target. The pieces fall into place with crystalline clarity. Blackstone's hostility toward veterans, his knowledge of your crew's backgrounds, his constant schedule changes that kept delaying the project's completion. He wasn't incompetent. He was stalling, waiting for the right moment to strike. Where is he now? You ask. Gone. Cleared out of the site office about 20 minutes ago. But Morrison, he took blueprints of the Vegas Strip's infrastructure. Water mains, electrical grids, the whole network. You look across the construction site, toward the distant glitter of Las Vegas, imagining the chaos that could unfold if Blackstone's plan succeeds. Millions of tourists, thousands of service members on leave, countless innocent people going about their lives with no idea what's coming. I need a vehicle and full tactical gear, you tell Chen. And I need it now. This is a federal operation. Sergeant Morrison, we'll handle the pursuit. With respect, Agent Chen, you don't know this terrain like I do. And you sure as hell don't know Richard Blackstone like I do. You shoulder your rifle. The Barrett M82 you've been using for surveying work, modified back to its original military configuration. This is what I do. This is what I've always done. Wilson steps up beside you, his face set in hard lines. Gunny's right. This bastard used our service records against us, targeted our families. This is personal now. And me? Rodriguez joins the group, his prosthetic hand gleaming in the desert sun. Nobody threatens my Marines and walks away. Chen looks at the three of you, battered veterans who've given everything for their country and are being asked to give more. Blackstone has a 2-hour head start and access to resources we can't match. If he reaches his destination, he won't, you say, with the certainty that comes from years of impossible missions. Marines don't leave the job half-finished. The Barrett M82 feels like an old friend as you settle into position on the ridge overlooking Highway 95. Below, the desert highway stretches toward Las Vegas like a ribbon of heat-shimmered asphalt. Intelligence indicates Blackstone is traveling in a white Range Rover, probably accompanied by armed security and carrying enough explosive devices to turn the strip into a crater. Overwatch. This is ground team. Wilson's voice crackles through. Your earpiece. He and Rodriguez are positioned at roadblocks north and south of your location, ready to intercept if Blackstone tries to run the gauntlet. Target vehicle spotted. Approaching from the east. 3 occupants. Possible weapons visible. You track the Range Rover through your scope, noting the reinforced windows and heavy suspension that suggests armor plating. Blackstone sits in the passenger seat, his face visible in profile as he gestures animatedly at someone in the back seat. The driver is a professional, hands steady, eyes constantly checking mirrors, maintaining perfect tactical spacing from other vehicles. Positive ID on Blackstone, you report. Taking the shot would be clean, but we need him alive for intelligence on the rest of his network. Copy that, Overwatch. Ground team moving to intercept. The first roadblock goes exactly as planned. Rodriguez, positioned behind concrete barriers with spike strips deployed, forces the Range Rover to slow down, but Blackstone's driver is better than expected. Instead of stopping, he yanks the wheel hard left and crashes through the desert. Scrub, using the vehicle's 4-wheel drive to bypass the roadblock entirely. Ground Team 2, this is Overwatch. Target is heading your way, approximately 90 seconds out. Wilson's roadblock is more elaborate. A broken-down construction truck blocking both lanes, with Wilson supposedly trying to fix the engine. But as the Range Rover approaches, its passengers open fire with automatic weapons, forcing Wilson to dive for cover as bullets shred the truck's cab. Taking fire! Taking fire! Wilson's voice is tight with controlled panic. They've got serious hardware down here. Through your scope, you watch muzzle flashes strobe from the Range Rover's windows. Full auto fire, probably military-grade weapons. These aren't amateur terrorists. They're trained operators with access to serious equipment. Overwatch to ground team. I have the shot. Negative! Chen's voice cuts through the radio chatter. We need Blackstone alive. There are 3 other cells we haven't identified yet, but Wilson is pinned down, and Rodriguez is racing cross-country to provide support. In 30 seconds, Blackstone's vehicle will be past your position and racing toward Vegas with enough explosives to turn the Strip into a memorial. You exhale slowly, feeling your heartbeat slow as muscle memory takes over. The Barrett M82's scope reticle settles on the Range Rover's right rear tire. A .50 caliber round will shred rubber and wheel rim, sending the vehicle into an uncontrolled spin without directly targeting the occupants. The trigger breaks clean and smooth, exactly like it has 36 times before in far worse circumstances. The massive rifle's recoil rocks your shoulder as the bullet streaks downrange at nearly 3,000 feet per second. The Range Rover's tire explodes in a shower of rubber and sparks. The driver fights to maintain control, but physics is unforgiving. The heavy vehicle slides sideways across the asphalt before rolling 3 times and coming to rest upside down in the desert sand. Target down! Target down! You report, already packing your gear for rapid displacement. Ground teams move in for prisoner extraction. By the time you reach the crash site, Wilson and Rodriguez have the situation well in hand. The driver is unconscious but breathing. The third occupant, a hard-faced man with military tattoos, is zip-tied and cursing in 3 languages. Blackstone himself sits in the sand with blood streaming from a scalp wound, looking nothing like the arrogant privileged prick who insulted your Marines just days ago. Agent Chen arrives with the federal response team just as you're checking Blackstone's injuries. Multiple contusions, possible concussion, but he'll live, you report. The explosives? Secured, Chen confirms, along with detailed plans for simultaneous attacks on the Bellagio, Caesar's Palace, and the Hoover Dam. Blackstone wasn't just planning terrorism. He was planning to cripple the entire Southwest's infrastructure. You look down at the man who nearly turned thousands of innocent people into casualties. Why, you ask? You had everything. Money, position, opportunity. Why throw it all away for this? Blackstone spits blood and sand. You people think you're heroes, but you're just tools. Expendable tools that get thrown away when the politicians don't need you anymore. I was going to show everyone what real power looks like? Real power? Rodriguez laughs harshly, his prosthetic hand catching the light. Brother, real power is doing the right thing when nobody's watching and everything's going to hell. You wouldn't understand. As the federal agents load Blackstone and his associates into transport vehicles, Wilson approaches with a secure phone. It's for you, Gunny. Someone wants to thank you personally. The voice on the other end is crisp, professional, with the unmistakable authority of high command. Gunnery Sergeant Morrison? This is General Patricia Hayes, CENTCOM. I understand. You've had an interesting week. Just doing the job, ma'am. The job ended when you left the Corps, Sergeant. What you did out there, that was something else entirely. That was Marines taking care of Marines. Through the desert heat shimmer, you can see the lights of Las Vegas, twinkling in the distance. Millions of people going about their lives, completely unaware of how close they came to catastrophe. Your crew, Rodriguez, Wilson, and the others, stand together in the shade of the command vehicle, still wearing their hard hats and work boots, still looking like construction workers despite having just helped prevent a terrorist attack. Ma'am, with respect, the job never really ends, you say. We just change uniforms. What did you think of this story? If you stand with our veterans, type The Black Shadow. Let me know.